and this is my perspective on the whole gentrification thing. I realize it happens. What is unfair is well, I realize that if you're going to add value to a place or anything, it is going to inherently increase the desire of it.
Hmm.
So if you're going to have a situation where you're going to make sure crime is happening less, well, that's usually a byproduct. If you're um, investing money into making things look better, making things feel safer, that's going to inherently make it more desirable.
Hmm.
And that means people are way more willing to pay more money for it. And that inherently isn't bad. It's just that it disrupts the people living there already.
Hmm.
So, for example, there's a home that's kind of equivalent to mine that recently sold. It's not too far from us. It's like really across the street. That sold for I want to say like keep in mind this home would have probably only gone for like maybe 200K, and now there I think it sold for 400 something.
Mm.
There are homes that are on the next street over that are very nice, modern looking homes.
Hmm.
Like I remember what it looked like before they fixed it, and I think one of them closed for 500.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I'm concerned about that, of course, but there is a substantial interest in this area because effectively Atlanta is, well, that was before Corona, of course, but
Hmm.
Atlanta was practically filled, and it was hard to find places to live that were reasonably priced. And our area just happened to fit all of those things back in 2012. And that was one of the reasons I was very excited about the home because I have a good bit of land in the back, but um we have the space to grow. So one thing my wife and I, well, as I mentioned before, we had our first child. Well, we have a two-bedroom home, and we kind of made too many people. We have three kids now, and so we have been considering the idea of we really love the environment. I'm sorry, the neighborhood, but honestly, if I were to purchase a home right now in our neighborhood, it's very unlikely that I can afford it, just
Hmm.
because these newer homes and what we need out of a home are easily running upwards of 400K. Um, so I have friends who have told me basically like, listen, you made money with your home with its value going up with it being in the area that's going through this process. Sell it and go find a new house. But the thing is I really like living here. So my thought process, and we've been toying around with this idea, is if all these renovations are happening in our home in our area, why not do our own renovations
Hmm.
and you end up with whatever value your home is. The value is very likely to be way more than the renovations. So even if I'm paying, um, let's say we end up with a 200K loan to renovate the entire house, the value of the home goes up, but I still be paying how much ever I would if I went and bought a new house someplace else. So that's where we are, and we think that that'll probably be the best option for us. We're still making that determination, but to be honest, it's mostly I don't want to go moving my stuff around anymore. I'm tired of doing that. but
Because really you have kind of hit the jackpot in location wise, which is,
right,
the you hear people in real estate say location, location, location. You
right,
hit the jackpot in the location lottery, pretty much.
yeah, yeah. And I think that while Decatur is definitely the place that's happening the most that I know of, I would look for any place that is on the peripheral of Atlanta that has ease of access to get to Atlanta. Like where I am, I can hop on 20 and I'm in the middle of Atlanta within 5 minutes. Um, this isn't this isn't professional real estate advice. This is just what I've noticed from my experience.
Mhm.
I would look towards any of the places where it is convenient to get to the metro Atlanta area or the heart of Atlanta, but still on the outskirts of it. I suspect those are the places that are going to be going through the revitalization process. And those are places where there are opportunities for your, I guess, investment to grow in your home, just simply because, you know, people want to be close to Atlanta. Now, here's a caveat with that, with what's going on with, you know, the outside being poisonous and everything. There may be a substantial shift in how we work. You know, our area is opening back up, but there may be people doing a lot more teleworking. So I don't
Mhm.
know the dynamics of that, but
Mhm.
that's something to consider. So anyway, that's we got very lucky just because we happened to know the right people at the right time,
Mhm.
who were interested in getting people involved in that program. And I went back to look on the website now, and it made me realize that another thing that was a contributing factor was the market crash that happened in 2008.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
was
that
in,
was huge.
yeah, the home values were, you know, plummeting and everything. So around 2010, when they were trying to revitalize those areas, that was also a contributing factor because they were like, listen, the city of DeKalb is saying, hey, or the city of Decatur was saying, we're not getting enough money in because there's nobody living in this home. All we need to do is get people in these homes and, you know, make a deal with them and then make sure they pay their taxes and all that jazz. We'll be doing a lot better. I
Mhm.
think that was a contributing factor too. So if there are, I don't know of the cities that are doing this anymore because I think Decatur may be beyond that point. But if there are cities that are willing to make those type of deals with you of, we need you in this place so we can get tax revenue, we'll do what it takes to get this home together. So any programs like that, those I think are very beneficial.
Now let me ask you a question. I know the area where you stay, so I kind of know the answer already, but I know the audience won't. A lot of times when I talk to people about neighborhood revitalization, three of the things that they bring up are some of the things that helps the property value stay up when it goes up,
Mm,
and that is good schools, grocery
yes.
store, park, and banks, right?
Hmm.
Financial institutions in the area. When you first moved there, um, if I'm not mistaken, that school district was not top notch. Number one, the I know that there were grocery stores around the area, but just not the best ones. It was like the Save a Lots but it was a grocery store. Because, like I said, I know exactly where you were at. Because my wife is from Decatur, and financial institutions, there really wasn't many in the close to where you were at the time, and parks, sketchy at best. Am
Yeah,
I correct?
well, definitely on the financial institutions. I can't really think of, you know, I do so much stuff online at this point, and I have so few reasons to go into a bank.
True, true.
But yeah, now that you mention it, there weren't a lot of financial institutions there. Now, what's really wild is I well, we ended up doing a private school down in not McDonough. Well, initially McDonough and in not Riverdale, Stockbridge. There we
Okay,
go.
where I'm at.
So we weren't really able to determine how great the school system was,
Hmm.
even though there have been substantial improvements to a lot of the school systems in the Decatur area.
Mhm.
So that was one of the reasons why it became such a hot commodity in the Decatur area, because I can I want to say like around 2014-ish,
Mhm.
I think there was like a whole lot of good things that were happening in Decatur with regards to the quality of schools, but I'm not exactly sure where those were because we didn't really engage the school system that way. Um, Now, I can say that there are definitely pretty decent parks around. There's one that we go to that's near us. Well, I say we go to, we just know about it. I don't get out the house that much, especially with everything happening. But we do, there's like less than a 5-minute drive. This is amazing Cohen Park, I think it is. And there's another one around. So I've seen the improvements and the investments that they've done in the parks, and it seems that those are the type of things you do to ensure that an area's um, an area keeps its value. And I think there's also the idea that if you give young people things to do, you have less of an issue of the various crimes that lead to just come from boredom and convenience, which can very often lead to decrease in property value. So
Definitely. Yeah.
I see that the city of Decatur has been putting a lot of effort into those types of things. The only thing that I can't say that I've seen improvements in is the financial institutions, but I haven't been looking for those. So that's a very interesting point.
Yeah. Yeah. And the last one I forgot to talk about was medical. Right. A lot of times people look for
Right.
doctor's office, dental offices, things like that in a neighborhood. And that usually shows the vitality, especially when you start getting into the financial and the medical part. That shows the
Hmm.
vitality of a neighborhood. Now, um, if you were to talk to someone that were in your similar, and you gave your opinion on it earlier, um, you were talking to someone in your similar situation that you were in 2010,
Hmm.
and they were thinking about buying a home in a neighborhood that wasn't top notch like you guys did
Hmm.
at the time. And they just wanted to own a home. They just got to the point they were saying, you know something, I'm tired of renting. I
Hmm.
want to start to build on my with on something that's tangible for my family.
Okay.
How would you coach them mentally? Not on a financial level, on a mental
Okay.
level. How, because you talked about being a looking outside, and DMX is pretty much walking down the street with his with his dogs. And then you pretty much you kind of put your family in this situation, but you knew that all in all that you were making a investment in the future. How would you coach someone mentally when they get to that point that they say, man, I don't know if we made the right decision?
That's a very good question, and we actually had a break in, I think, within the first year.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a sort of conversation with myself. I said, listen, we're moving into this area. We're going to basically do the best we can to keep ourselves as safe as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Make it harder to um, effectively get people get away with your stuff. So, but just expect that there might be trouble in your neighborhood. And I think me coming to terms with that and understanding that I can do my best to minimize the amount of impact that that would have on me So there are steps that I've taken to make it so that it's harder to just walk out with our stuff, for example. But we also made personally, I think guns are an acceptable form of home defense, but just because of the way that I was when I was a kid, and I know my kids are the same way, I'm not 100% comfortable with that right now. Because they find stuff they ain't got no business doing. That's what my kids do.
Yeah, always, all kids.
I think the goal for me was to become comfortable with the idea that this is an improving neighborhood and you need to be involved in that process. When we first got here, we were going to the neighborhood meetings, and it was very enlightening to see different perspectives in the neighborhood. And I will say that I'm guilty of not doing this as well as I should, but be engaged in your neighborhood, because having good neighbors who often look out for you. So years back, my wife purchased a bed and it was being delivered. And the delivery person got here before I did. And my neighbor went out and she saw a truck sitting in our yard. So she just kind of stood there to let him know she was watching. So in the event that this person was coming through to just, snatch up stuff out of the house. So I guess being a child of the 80s, I had always been told, hey, you need to be wary of the people outside, because trying to snatch up people never get seen again. That makes it a little bit harder for people of my generation to really engage in neighborly activities, I guess is the best I could say. So to an extent, I would say get yourself to the point where you are not just living in that home, but part of the neighborhood. That's been an ongoing struggle for me. That way you can be more aware of what's happening, and you can have people that are looking out for you also. And I know I'm going in different directions here, but I would also say be prepared to be receptive to options that you may not have thought of. And because initially my thought process was, we're gonna buy this house, it's gonna be the last house we ever live in. But there are opportunities that I have missed out on. We could have also went ahead and moved out of the neighborhood and moved to another place by just reselling. But we came across the idea of, if we expand the home we're in, this will be an outstanding location. We can build it to our specifications of what we need. So ultimately be flexible. I hope that's answering the question.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you're giving great information